Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
I look horrible, so I'm leaving my camera off.
That's okay. No explanation needed. I
was lucky I got pants on today. I've been going up, so I just like, I'm here.
I might go off for a little while too. I just got some dinner, so I don't want you to watch me eat.
You guys need to just take a break, you know. This is a subcommittee meeting, and that means we get to be casual and free and loose and, you know, take breaks as needed. We're not going camera as needed.
I would always choose to not have camera if I wasn't helping run the meeting, so.
I usually keep mine on just because I feel like I bring the support.
Yeah.
Having my camera on. I don't like looking at a screen without people, but
I just get yeah. I get
no, I'm not. I'm sick of life. I'm not sick, but I almost wish I wish I was sick so that I could take a sick day. Like that's.
Oh.
So you guys, I've already hit the record button, just so you know, we're on record. And I'm just letting people filter in. We'll give folks a few minutes. Ruth, come here. Marco is out in the garage, and Ruth is, our cat, is such a daddy's girl, and she'll sit there at the door and like whine for him to come in.
Oh,
it's
that's funny.
Darling.
How is he
but
feeling? How you don't have a mask on? How are you?
No, he's good. He tested negative on Sunday morning.
Yay!
Oh,
Yeah, so we are kind of back to status quo. He's got kind of some lingering fatigue.
I went and got B12 injections after having it because the fatigue really was hard on me, and I'd had mono before, which really affected my immune system, and how I've never been the same since it. But it made a really big difference because it just really depletes you.
Yeah, I if it's anything like mono, then it's bad because I've had mono, and
so
it is
bad.
brutal and very latent. Like it just kind of lays low, but it's still there for a very, very long time.
Yeah, it really destroyed my immune system for years. Having mono was back to ground zero, catching everything. And when I get sick too, since I've had it, my lymph nodes swell up really bad in my neck. And COVID was and I've had everything. I had swine flu. I got listeria from recalled Trader Joe's spinach. I'm the one that the mono really just I became the person that got everything. And yeah, COVID was the first comparable fatigue.
I had shingles when I was 16, so I get it. I catch everything. Including COVID, yes.
That's shingles.
Shingles is not something you should have to worry about in high school.
No. I don't think anybody should ever have to worry about shingles because it's horrible, but especially a teenager.
We had to go to the doctor and be like, what is this? We know, because they're like, oh, it's this. We're like, what is that? What does that mean?
Yeah. No good.
My cousin got shingles when she was 7 months pregnant and super miserable.
Oh no.
That's yeah.
Well, you guys, I think let's just give it another couple minutes because I think we're expecting Lynn. And I think April can't come until 6, right?
Yeah, April said she probably would just make the last bit.
Okay.
So maybe like
But we have our
6:30
scores, so yeah.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
And that's everyone, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Let's just give Lynn another minute or two and I'll text her and see.
Yeah. I sent her everything and it was going to the same email I've gotten anything from her before. So it should have, I mean, everyone else got it. So
I will text her.
okay. I definitely double checked.
She works, I mean, she has a full work day, so I just wonder if maybe she's like, if her work days are anything like my work days, they don't really like ever end when you want them to or think they should.
Yeah.
Because you're the boss lady.
I know.
Got to be a schmuck like me.
Okay, well, I texted her. Let's see if she. We'll give her another minute and then I think we should just go ahead and get started. I don't know if any of you, I don't think any of you were there because I didn't see any of you at the Daka Braka show at the Reister last night. Were you there?
I went on Sunday night.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it was packed and it was amazing. So amazing. You went yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Sunday night show, but last night they had like, I mean, people, Ukrainian community was out there in full effect with like flags and the whole.
Oh,
wow. Yeah. It was.
I love that.
It was absolutely like, breathtaking. Like it made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And at a certain point, like I looked back because like at the end, you know, all the musicians were looking up and just like speechless and like getting really emotional. And I was like, okay, I got to turn around and see what they're looking at. And I looked up at the balcony and it like the Ukrainian flag was pulled all the way across the balcony.
Wow. Wow.
That was really awesome.
Phenomenal performance. Like, I mean, they always put on a great show, but I think in particular, right now, seeing some of the things that we did in the visual, and all the visuals that they had on the screen.
That was amazing. I was really impressed with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it was very well done.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm happy you got to see it, Jayne.
Yeah. Well, you had recommended it, and then Don got tickets. I'm like, are you sure it's on Easter? And someone was telling us they added that show because Monday was sold out.
It sold out so fast. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I think they said that this was their first performance in US after COVID.
Yeah.
I think that's what they told us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we should go ahead and get started. Does everybody feel good about that? And hopefully Lynn will jump on and join us here shortly. So I'm just going to go ahead and call the April 19th, 2022 Grants Committee meeting to order. And I'm more or less going to turn it over to Kourtnee because she's really done the lion's share of the work on this, and she's done some work in trying to like organize all of the applicants for each of the different 4 grants that we offer. And she did do kind of a preliminary ranking of them, but she did it at 3:30, and then I think a few folks were in there still tinkering with scores. So it sort of it
like this, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely altered it. So we're gonna just use it as a gauge or a guide to help the conversation, because I think there were some very clear front runners, and then I think there's a few that I think that we need to talk about for a variety of reasons, equity reasons, I think sort of city priority reasons. So and we'll get there here shortly. So I'm gonna ask Kourtnee to go ahead and take it away. And if you want me to bring up that spreadsheet, Kourtnee, I'm happy to.
Yeah, do you want us to look at the submittable at all, or do we want to just look at the spreadsheet since everyone's had a chance to look through
Spreadsheet
there?
first.
Okay.
And then maybe you can have, maybe you can share some anecdotes about who the top scoring applicants were in each of those 4 grant categories.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you could share the spreadsheet.
And Jayne has a question.
Yes.
One question, you know, I had to abstain from the 2 for TVC. Will that affect their overall score? Or you just divide it by
it? I would not worry about it because they're very high scoring.
Oh, okay.
Even with your abstention or your recusal, like they're still top.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And there were a couple of them, TV Creates as well as Icing, that both applied for 2 different grant types, so that we had a chance to be able to see which one they might have a better fit in. And I think from the scores that we'll definitely see that one had a better fit in one and one had a better fit in the other. But it should not affect their score overall, because it will just take the median off of how many people scored rather than out of, you know, a specific amount divided by that. So what we kind of did is, this is ranked from earlier, as like I said, like Laura said, that there were like definitely top ranking ones. And I think since we all kind of went through the grant applications and they're fresh on our mind too, that we'll kind of know stand out which ones were definitely like the higher ranked in terms overall. I think everyone was kind of on the same page. I read through the grant applications as well, and they were ranked pretty much how I was thinking that they would be. So we have 4 different grant types. There's the Art Lives Here grants, which we have $15,000 for. But we kind of group those in the same section as the large grants, because those are also the $5,000 ones. And because they're so closely related, if we needed to do a little bit of overlapping to get extra funds for one or extra for the other, or kind of interchange that a little bit, that we could do that. The ones that we want to be careful about, though, would be the small grant types and the open format grants, because they have rolling deadlines. So those deadlines will keep rolling past June. We'll get new funding in July, but we have $9,000 for small grants currently and $10,000 for open format grants. So if we funded everything under each of those, we wouldn't have a ton of funding left. So we want to make sure that we're being strategic about that and looking at which ones we think are definitely like those front runners in there, so that there's other project funds left over for other opportunities, other people that are looking for grant funding before the end of June.
Yeah. Can I add something really quickly, Kourtnee? I would say though that we only review once every quarter. So don't feel like you want to hold back too much, because we're only going to have so many opportunities to review other applications.
Yeah. So with that, does anybody have any questions about how anything fell, or have anything they want to bring up before we kind of dive into what we're looking at?
Well, are we going to have opportunity to talk about each one? Because some of them were confusing to me, like the Icing ones. I only voted on one because they look repetitive. I mean, they had the same dates, the same project, so it was confusing why there were 2 when it was said the exact same thing. So.
The reason there were 2, and the same thing for Tualatin Valley Creates, is that they applied for each of those top grants in case they weren't funded one, or if they were a better fit for the other program.
Got it,
So,
okay.
so Tualatin Valley Creates applied for the Art Lives Here as well as a large, and so did Icing, in case that they were a better fit for one or the other, hoping that we would consider at least funding them under one.
Okay, thank you.
We're also we'll take a look at them as well, but there's kind of definitely like a top tier, and then that middle kind of mucky area of, should we fund this? Should we partially fund these? Do we need to look at them like with an equity bonus? Do we need to be thinking about what's in that middle section? And then there's definitely some that are a little bit lower on the ranking, that do we need to move any of those up? Are they okay down there? And look at it that way. So we'll look at some of them, but we're not going to read them in depth like we did last time, because we would not get through that in 2 hours. As you guys know, because you ranked them. So yeah, there's a lot in there.
You all know exactly how much time it takes to go through them at this point.
Yes. And it will not be in 2 hours with a group.
So, I mean, I think, you know, you can see how they're laid out here. This kind of maroon section here, that's the Art Lives Here community grants. So we had 4 applicants. We have $15,000 to award, and we had $18,800 in requests come through. So we cannot fund all of them, and that's totally okay. For the large grants, we had quite a few applications. And so I think, let me just get down here. We had $52,030 in requests, and we only have $25,000 to award. And then open format here, we have $10,000 to award over the whole year. For this quarter, we had $6,524 come in requests. We could fund all of that if you feel like they're all stellar. We also could just award what we think is really outstanding, and defer and wait to the future until other applications come in. And then we had, for the small grants, those are $1,000 grants. Let's see, we had 4 applications come in, $4,000 worth of requests, and $9,000 left remaining in this fiscal year 2 award. And you'll see that there's a $9,000 figure there, and that accounts for the $1,000 award that we already gave. So we have $9,000 left to spend. So that's kind of, I mean, where we're at financially in a nutshell. And I think what we should probably do is go through and talk about kind of the top candidates in each of these sections, if that makes sense, Kourtnee.
Yes. And I will say that I did just see a new grant come through for the open format, like this weekend, maybe. So we will want to be thinking about the fact that there will be more rolling through. So people are still on it. They're just going to be in the next section. So we definitely want to think about that.
So I think, Kourtnee, what might be good is just to go through and offer some anecdotes about what you saw in each of these grant types, and kind of who rose to the top, who were maybe like some on the cusp folks, and why maybe. So if you feel comfortable doing that, I'd love for you to kind of frame it in that way.
Okay, and especially with this first one, the Art Lives Here, you can see that there were 4 different ones, and we can't fully fund these. However, 2 of those have also applied for the large project grant. So something that I think helped Tualatin Valley Creates under this category was that it is a communication hub, so that made sense for Art Lives Here as the Beaverton as a whole, and not just downtown, whereas Icing was in a specific location. But for the large project grants, Icing was higher than it was here, so we could fund one out of a large project grant and not from here, and still be able to fund those others. So just think about that in consideration, because those were the two that were high ranking ones that were in two different categories. There was one as well that you probably noticed that was in 3 different categories, but did not rise as high as the others. I wrote down I tried to kind of put on this spreadsheet as well what areas we were looking at, or what project types or age groups, if there was something specific. We had some new folks reach out this year, which is great. We had some murals. The storytelling for seniors I thought was pretty cool, because you don't get a lot of storytelling for one. It's usually performance or visual art ones that we get. So we don't get a lot of things like the Willamette Writers or storytelling or anything like that. It's usually more theater based or concert based. So that was pretty cool, and it looked like it rose pretty well. There were some for students, which is awesome. They're trying to get back out there. Teachers are trying to do more projects for folks. So if anything, I think that helped a bit. Then of course, there were a lot of, in the middle section of there's a lot of concerts and things like that in here. So, you know, there's icing, Beaverton Community Band, Beaverton Symphony, Experience Theater, all those guys kind of fell into that middle section. And so I think what we would need to kind of look at when we're considering these is what are those like super top stellar applications or projects, and then kind of what makes the most sense for that middle section of who gets funding. Do we partially fund some of those so that each of them can have some for their concerts or things like that? And where does that put us at? If that makes sense. Anybody have questions? Okay. And if anybody has any passion votes while we're chatting, I always have passion votes, so feel free to bring those up too. Sorry, I'm just bringing up the submittable again really quick.
Yeah, we might just want to get in submittable and go through at least the top applications for each of the categories, just as a like jog for our memory, and then we can have discussion. And I know that's going to take a minute.
Yeah.
So one thing that I wanted to bring up, and I mentioned this, so we have, I want to talk about Painted Sky a little bit, because they were not at the top of the ranking for the large grant application that they submitted for, but we do feel strongly that we don't have many opportunities to fund Indigenous, Native American tribes, and they are definitely the sole producer that we have worked with. And I think that there are a lot of sort of cultural differences, and I think that unfortunately the structure that we create, grant funding, is very it's very white, and I don't know how else to say it. It doesn't really give a lot of allowance to cultural norms that are different, and so I just want to mention that, because I do feel like they've always been a really impressive producer. We've always been really happy when we funded them in the past. We do feel like it supports their kind of cultural preservation and their traditions, and those things aren't necessarily like, they're not great at talking about them, they're not great at narrative, they're not they really they do best when they're actually like interviewed, or they're talking in person, as opposed to the written form. So applications like this are really hard for them, and it feels like square peg round hole. So I just wanted to mention that, because I do feel like we need to talk about their application as a group. And then the other application that I wanted to at least mention, because it fell lower than several, was the Weir Path mural that was proposed by the South Beaverton NAC. And that's one where I've actually met with Lisa. They already have a NAC matching grant. And it is a really, it's in an area where we don't have any investment in public art. It's a safe routes to school area where they're trying to think about traffic calming, because this path really bisects a neighborhood where kids are walking to and from school. And the intention of that mural was to kind of create some attention and create like more visibility in that area that kind of keeps people at a lower speed. And so I think it's a really, I don't know how well that they articulated that in their application, but I would say that from a city level, I think we would be remiss if we did not fund them. So I think that would be a real missed opportunity based on some of the council priorities and some of the things that have kind of come to the fore recently. So I just wanted to mention those two applications in particular, because I think we need to have a further conversation about them.
Was that the South? I mean, I remember reading about that. Is that the South Beaverton Neighborhood Association?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they would
Yeah, I
also
love
be
that
working
one.
with us because they would have to go through us for all the public art and things too. So we know that we'd be keeping an eye on the project.
Yeah, I agree with you both. I mean, Painted Sky for sure. I mean, that was amazing.
And it's,
I thought their grant application was great. I didn't have any issues with not understanding it.
We really, I mean, every year they get very discouraged because I think that they apply for a lot and then they don't get a lot of return. And they're trying to bend to a norm that's not really, that's unusual for them. And I think they've really gotten discouraged. And so we've had conversations with them multiple times about just hang in there. Let's see if we can like figure out a way to, you know, potentially have you submit a video or like a recording of, you know, you talking about the project and help them with their narrative, like develop their narrative. And I think they keep on coming back and they keep on trying. And I think that there's something to be said about that they really, and I think because it's not a focused event, it's something that will support their programs like for a whole year. It might not seem as what's the word, cohesive, or like that there's like this very clear conceptual narrative around it, but it's a I think that's because it's just meant to support kind of overall programming for a whole year. Yeah,
it's helping support like them at like the celebration parade and any of our events as well. So it helps them fund those programs that they would be doing with us and getting folks over here, because everybody except the person who's writing these is over at the reservation too. So getting them over here and being able to support that in this area.
That makes a lot of sense. That gives me way more context in it, because I wasn't sure if like what it was going towards, because there wasn't any information on the budget, but I'm like, this looks amazing. Are they previous recipients? I was trying to figure that out. And so that sheds a lot of light for me on what that encompasses.
Yep, me too. I kind of, after looking at it and really reading through it in detail, that was sort of what I was thinking, what the situation was. And so, yeah, I say, let's do it. No question.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I think one of the things
Lynn, go ahead.
I think one of the things we consider when we consider diversity is, you know, the way that different cultures of people sort of represent themselves. You know, it's not always in writing. You know, isn't that the big question with all the like educational testing and stuff? So yeah, I say let's go for it and keep them coming. I think it's really important.
Yeah, there was a great diversity in age groups this year as well, which I thought was pretty exciting. The fact that there was someone who's wanted to do storytelling in the senior centers, but there's also programming for students and for kids from like different age groups. So like a lot more of that kind of diversity, as opposed to just all of the same. I mean, we get a lot of the same thing every year, but nice that people are trying to think outside of the box, and especially coming back after COVID, of being able to try to get the community together a little bit more.
Yeah, I think the different modalities of art, you know, like you said, the storytelling and the dance and the science, it was, all across the board.
Yeah, that was something I definitely had in mind as I was going through them. We're seeing some of the bigger organizations and who's supporting who, even of graphics, of sponsorship, of, okay, well, you're established here. What fraction of this is your budget? But also balancing that with, okay, and how legitimate is this ask? Because there are some that I think, as much as I wanted to really be on board with, they fell a little short of the mark for me, of just understanding the scope of the project. But then looking at others where you're like, okay, well, obviously you have, you know, you've been working with, for example, like a church for a series of years, that you're like, okay, well, obviously this is very supplemental, where to somebody else this could be their entire year budget. And looking at that, I thought was important for me as I went through.
It's nice to hear that you all are thinking about that so much, especially as all first timers on this committee, which is really nice to hear, because I've been with the subcommittee since I've been here, and a lot of times we had the same folks over and over, which was awesome. But having everyone think this thoroughly through everything on their first time on here is exciting.
And a lot of new folks coming into the fold, which I think is also very encouraging and something we want to see more of. So you know, we want to continue to support our longstanding organizations and artists and cultural producers here, but we also got to create some entry points for the new folks too. So it's just nice to see some new turnout. And some arts education. I mean, we very infrequently get grant applications for arts education related programming. So to see that is really, I love that. That's great.
I have a quick question. You know, pardon me for being behind. I'm still juggling 2 jobs and it's a little tricky. So I don't know if you guys already touched on this, but Destry brought up a really good reminder to me about to raise the topic of some of these came through that were asking, they were relying on being able to book the research for their, you know, what they were proposing, and yet did we get any background on whether they had actually booked the research? Because the schedule may be full and they may not be able to get in. So no point funding something if they don't have a venue already booked, really.
I mean, I think that I think we tried to address that a little bit in our Q&A that we sent out. So I don't, I wouldn't, it's a little bit chicken or egg, because I don't know if we would, they may have had preliminary conversations with the research, but I wouldn't have expected them to submit like a contract with the research if they, if booking was contingent on securing funds to do so. And I think that, I mean, once we can say we can have a conditional grant award, right? This grant is conditional based off of when you secure your rental at the research. So you won't be able to receive any funds until you can get confirmation that you've booked the space. And I think that's usually how we've handled situations like this, where we're like, well, it's just kind of like a hope and a prayer that works out. Let's just like put all of our eggs in that basket and hope it works out. And I think more often than not, it does come together. And there are times where we will have to have a grantee return funds if they're not able to realize a project. So, I mean, you definitely don't want to like entirely discredit it. It's something to kind of put in the hopper for all these applications. I think, I mean, I just wouldn't use that, like, if they have a contract with the RESER as a criteria for the evaluation. And they might not be able to do it on a day, right? On the day that they want. They might not be able to do it on a Friday or Saturday. Those are the like really booked up times, are those weekend days. So, you know, I think they might have to negotiate their, you know, their schedule.
Yeah. Or you might have noticed community band is right at the cusp of that deadline part, but he called me to ask about that grant deadline because he had to put it in over a year ago to get that kind of reservation, because it had to be booked so far out to be able to get it, that he's like, I really need to keep this or I'm not going to get space at the RESER. So it might be some of that kind of moving things around a bit.
Does that answer your question, Lynn?
Yep.
Okay. All right, Court. So I think let's go ahead into submittable, and I think just look at the top scoring applications for each section, and if we want to have like a little brief commentary on the application.
Okay. What I can do do you want me to look at them overall, or do you want me to look at them by grant type?
No, I want to go by grant type. Okay. So let's start with the large grants.
Okay. That's our big hefty one. So
yeah,
that'll take the longest. Can you guys all see this okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So we had 9 in this category, and 2 of those are those double ones. So one is Tualatin Valley Creates and one is Icing. And they both did the Art Lives Here grant as well as the large grant to see which one they might fit better under, and to hope that we would fund them out of at least one. So right now at the top, after we've gotten 5 folks to review some of these. So I'm not sure if some people were still holding off on some of their scores or not. 2 of
either
those.
way, yeah. Kourtnee, we have, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's a quorum, so
yeah.
we can really go off of that.
Yeah, this should be fine because 2 of these 8 votes would have been Laura and I, so it's out of 6. So at the top, we've got Peruvian Cultural Festival. So do we kind of want to open these and just
let's talk about them.
Okay.
Because I would love to hear, so we've never funded this particular group. The arts program has not funded this particular group.
Yes.
But the cultural inclusion, no, it's not. Welcoming Week.
We did fund this. We have funded this, and it was, but we funded it knowing that they were going to work with cultural inclusion during Welcoming Week.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And that was the thing. Yeah.
I will say that we did receive some feedback from our colleagues in cultural inclusion and cultural inclusion program, that they presented some challenges in terms of being able to easily work with them. And so that's just, I mean, I think the difference here is that this is a grant that they get. We're not there to assist them in any way. That is their deal. They have grant deliverables that they have to meet. It is sort of on them. But you know, they might not be the easiest to work with. And so I just want to throw that out there.
And this is not during Welcoming Week this year, but it's close to that time. So just be thinking about it. Any comments, questions? Did we just kind of want to overview of these and just to bring them back to the forefront.
I mean, I think I want to hear from folks on the committee about like what their, you know, what resonated about this.
I can start. I mean, for me, I rated them high because they hit every aspect of what we were looking for as far as, you know, meeting the needs of the community, being diverse, the artistic presence, you know, what were some of the other things on there? I mean, they just hit all the high marks for me. But again, it's based on, you know, what they wrote in their grant proposal. Whether they carry it out or not, I don't know, but that I liked what they were offering.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was definitely, like, when you think of Beaverton, I don't think we're thinking of Peruvian culture, and having that and being able to attend that kind of event and the beauty of it. I mean, it was the same. It was a thorough application, the budget breakdown, it all kind of, it was very clear.
I agree. Same as above.
Are you able to share more about why they would be difficult to work with?
I have feedback, but they were just a little, I think in short terms, a little rude and demanding to the other staff in the other program of that they needed to provide things or do things for them when it was, I mean, it's welcoming week. They're trying to help with like 10 to 15 different events going on. They're funding them. Their staff are going to every single one of those events during that week. So it's kind of a sore spot that like we funded something that ended up being so like such a kind of icky situation for them to have to be in when it was such a big event that should have been really nice. So it was just something that they're like, oh, cool, we're glad that that is in there. We hope that we don't hope that we don't have to do that though. You know,
the flip side to that is that I think that they required a lot of support, and maybe didn't know that before getting into it, the last time. And I think that our terms here are pretty clear that we're not in the position to support them more than a monetary award. So, I mean, I think it's a different circumstance. The way that I see it, it's a different circumstance. And I think we have to be fair in that respect.
Yeah.
And could it be cultural too? You know, maybe the other team wasn't used to the behaviors of that particular culture. I don't know.
Maybe. I'm not sure if they've worked with Peruvian kind of culture before, but it is the cultural inclusion program and community services. So the folks who've worked on the night market and things.
Yeah. I think that, I think what I see is that they had a really thoughtful and well put together application. And ultimately, I think that that's really what we have to evaluate here.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. Do we want to kind of keep looking
let's
through
go
them?
on to the next one. So that was the number one for large grants.
Mm-hmm.
And their request, just FYI, was $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it was for the full award amount.
Yeah. And then the Beaverton Community Band. I think they were doing, yes, concert and art. And they were not asking for that.
And a concert. Concurrent.
And they were asking for 3,500, not the full 5,000. So thoughts on this?
Again, it's dependent on the availability of the research.
They actually do have that booking though.
They did.
Oh, they did.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's the group that they called to make sure it was okay that it was like right at that cusp of the deadline of when our new fiscal year hits, because he had to put in the request for the research so early that that's all he could get. He said he's probably put it in a year and a half ago, maybe, to be able to get something on the books for when it was open.
Yeah, I mean, I went through this one. I'm fully on board with it. When I was in Missouri for my nonprofit professional certification national conference, we went to the Negro League Baseball Historical Museum, and I saw a lot of this. And so imagining that in a venue like the Reeser in association like with this group, I think is exactly what we should be doing as a community. It shouldn't, this isn't something that should just be, brought up in Black History Month. Like, this is just American history all the time. And it's obvious that they've been planning this and scheduled and we're so prepared that I mean, to me, this was an obvious yes.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. And combining the concert with the art, and it just hit all the boxes for me. As far as diversity and expansion in the community, it's for everyone, right?
Cool. I think for now we're going to kind of cruise in and have our first thoughts chat, and then kind of go back and look at it as a group.
Yeah.
Okay. So Willamette Writers. This was there were a couple of things that stood out for me, and I'll bring them up in a second. I do like this, that there's trying to bring more writing opportunities for young folks here, because like we talked about, there's not been a lot of like writing ones or storytelling kind of things or anything like that. My two discrepancies, I think, were I think the budget was off. I think their amount that they requested was different than the budget form, if I'm not mistaken. And then the only other thing, and this is something we could chat with them about too, because it was definitely high and I thought it was a great application, was just that they said that they were partnering with the library. And I just want to make sure that that is partnership that exists.
Yeah, I love that one because it's going to bring people to the library.
Yeah.
And especially that age group, stereotype, do they even write? Do they read? Or they're always on their phones, so anything. And even with TVC, we have a hard time getting teens to participate. So this is a great one.
Yeah.
I think if they can really get the participation.
Yeah, I love this one. I thought it was unique and important, and definitely part of it was that partnership with the library, because it makes perfect sense to be doing this at the library.
Yeah, I thought that way as well. I would just want to make sure, like, sometimes they're like, when they're saying they're partnering with somebody, and there's been ones in the past where they're like, we're partnering with this person on the exhibits at the city hall, and I'm like, that person's me. And I don't know what that is. So just I'm like, I don't want to do that thing. I don't know what that is. So just making sure that that's actually like happening and not like funding something and then they go to the library and be like, hey, we want, I'm sure it exists there, but we would just want to be thoughtful about on our end of making sure that we loop everyone in.
I think that's one where we would, if we were recommending a grant award, it would be conditional on agreement from the library.
Yeah. Any other thoughts or anything before we kind of just cruise over to the next one?
Nope.
Ready, set, go. Ready, set, go. Okay. Okay, so this is one of Icing's. I think Jayne, I think you said you only voted on one of them because they were the same, and they were just trying to see which one they fit in better, so they applied for both just in case.
I think I also only voted on one of these, and it was basically for the same reason of being multiple in multiple categories, that maybe only one was going to get one and which one was going to be better.
Yeah.
And
I feel like it was kind of obvious, like after reading them too, which one suited each group better, like in my mind, because I'm like, oh, TV creates, that communication hub, that definitely lives, like art lives here, you know?
Yeah.
This one is definitely, in my opinion, just being familiar with the grant types is more appropriate for the large grants.
I
It also
agree.
looks, it also looks like they're working with Bighorn Brass, which is awesome. It's also the Eric Westwig Memorial Fund. It's like the big brass concerts. So working across those different groups is pretty cool.
Oh, I see. I didn't understand that. I thought Bighorn Brass was the name of the event. So that, that makes
it's the ensemble. Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Any other thoughts, questions? I do think this is for 2 different concerts as well.
Right.
Okay. Gonna keep scooting just so we see them all real quick first. Jayne, we know you didn't vote on this, but
In my heart, I voted.
Don't
How could you not?
So this is one of Tualatin Valley Creates' grant applications. She did this same application for both Communication Hub for TV Creates, which we will see in the Art Lives Here ones as well. Thoughts?
I mean, I feel like I'm a little bit biased, but I would say that this is a vital resource for Washington County, for this region. Like, it's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, this was definitely one of the 2. This one was leaning towards the Art Lives Here grant, because it's an ongoing, sustaining it, like social media, like marketing campaign, versus it's not a large project event. And we see how much they do and how many events there are and all that it encompasses in our area. So I think that that's definitely, and it's the art that lives here. So
Yeah, I know, like totally the essence of that grant type.
Yeah, exactly. And somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to be that hub.
I was going to say, don't miss the networking event this Thursday. Jan's books.
Okay.
You guys do so much.
Yeah. I think I'm going to move on to the next one then, since we've seen this in the other section as well. Oh, symphony. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have any questions on this one.
Okay.
Thought it was good.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that I had questions on, I mean, the question I had that was overriding was what to do about the ones that were relying on rental of the research. So since we've answered that question, I have no hesitation.
Yeah. I will say that Susan definitely reached out to get that grant help and everything she needed to get all of her questions answered and everything like that with me. So very responsive, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Did she attend the grant information session, or was
no,
it
she
just...
watched it. It was just Chuck, but she watched.
Okay.
And the symphony is also, she said they're trying to ramp up in the next couple of years to do another big push kind of thing. So a lot of these concerts will be kind of gearing towards that. Okay, this is our friend that we were talking about earlier, Painted Sky.
Our friends at Painted Sky.
I love Mary. She did the whole application too, and it didn't save and crashed.
Oh, no.
And then she redid it because I told her because she knows us, and I was like, Mary, if you don't get it in, so help me. I don't know. But just that she was still able to get it back in. I commended her for that. So I think this would be supporting their multiple events in Beaverton and not just one specific. Do we have any other questions about them?
No, I agree. I mean, I gave it 98 because I think we definitely need to promote indigenous populations. And I love Native Americans, their art, their music, and it hit all the categories. As you said, it's just not a one-stop shop. It's like throughout the year.
Yeah.
And and it's something that we need to do more of. We need to bring that knowledge and that understanding of the Native Americans to everybody in the community, and that's what they're doing. So
yeah,
I thought it was great.
Okay. Anyone else? We'll keep chatting about them. So okay.
So Kourtnee, I have a question, because I think I remember that they're Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde, right? Okay, so
they're always coming
they
from
represent.
Grand Ronde,
Yeah, I think that they represent several tribal affiliations, which I think is also really important when you think about that the Atfalati are we're basically like rolled into another tribe, and they don't really have a local presence anymore. So having that connection in our community is so important, because otherwise it's just erasure. And so I just feel really strongly about this one.
Yeah, we've worked with them for 10 Tiny Dances, the parade, Beaverton Last Tuesday concerts when we still had those, and everyone was coming over from the reservation. It was a hours and hours drive, but they were always here and beautiful, and folks loved being able to see that those performances. Definitely something that people got excited about. Okay, Eric Westwood Memorial Fund. This is the Bighorn Brass concert. Yes, the other Bighorn Brass kind of thing.
Did you talk to Chuck? Did he connect with the Reeser? And
I haven't talked to him since then.
Okay,
I can reach back out to just to make sure, but
I just was curious if he had.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd heard from them yet. Any comments, questions on this?
I mean, I think just making sure that everybody understands the sort of the origins of this event. And Chuck is the father of Eric, who passed away, and he's been in this community for a long time. Worked at Intel, and I think he's now retired, and he spends his time really primarily on this. And he's always such an active participant in our outreach, in our info sessions. Like, he is engaged and really responsible, and they've always followed through at a very high level when they've been awarded grants in the past.
They also work with some of our colleagues in the office as well. So he's volunteering and helping with the toy drive. He's doing, all of that kind of stuff. So definitely very responsive. He was the only person at our grant info session. Thank you, Chuck. We're like, thank you for showing up for us.
My biggest question on this one was, in the past, they have been holding this event at the St. Matthew Lutheran Church, and they want to move their event to the Reeser. And it happens, if I recall correctly, during the holidays. Um, it- so that had me a little bit like, well, wait a minute. You know, as I was reading through, there was like another one and another one and another one for booking the research. But this one specifically, they already have a venue. So it seemed like it was, although a great event, they're really looking to move the event to a new facility. And so I really was kind of mixed on whether that was necessary, if we had to really weigh who needs the money most. Because if they already have a venue and it probably doesn't cost them much of anything, if anything, you know, was there another group that really needed the money more than this one? So that was my question about that one.
Yeah.
I felt similarly. It, to me, as far as the diversity aspect of this particular one, it felt like it was kind of lacking and would probably just draw in the same audience that it has drawn in at those other locations, just at a new venue. I think it's a great event. I don't have anything against it, but I think that there are people that would rely on this grant more so than this one. But I mean, hearing his history like with this program, that makes me, that skews it a little more in favor. But when you already have a tradition and something that's been established and going this long, it's weighing out the little guy versus something like, you know, in contrast to Tualatin Valley Creates, which is this huge epicenter. And then there are some mediums of, well, how much growth is really possible for you from this, and how established are you already? So
yeah, I think this would be one of those middle ones, because it's, you know, and we do the same thing with some of our events. We try out a new location and it can go great. It can not go so great sometimes, you know, like maybe we realize that we really, I mean, we've tried out different locations for our events. We've done it for night market, things like that too. So trying out those new spots to try to get that other maybe neighborhood of folks that are excited about something that might be closer or on this side. I'm not sure where the St. Matthew one is, but it might be just trying to try out a different venue as well, knowing that if they couldn't get the research, that they would be able to do it at that one. So
yeah,
and I didn't think it had the diversity reach or target audience that that some of the other ones, you know, were specifically targeting diverse populations.
Although if it is if they do have more like seniors or something like that, though, we have to think about it, diversity of age as well.
That's what I was thinking. Age and income was the two things that I felt like it did hit. And believe me, I am all about a brass choir. So give me horns any day.
I'm a French horn player, so I am all about that.
Yep, I play trumpet, so yeah.
Oh, trumpet.
Yes, ma'am. I have a chainsaw in my living room too.
I was in marching band for many years with the trumpets right behind you, so I've lost
right.
some of my hearing over the years. But
so I think for this one, I think, you know, definitely middle, you know, I mean, I think sort of respecting the relationship with the submitter is important. At the same time, you know, who really needs, if we're limited in our funds and we have to choose something else, I think we need to really consider all the different parts of it. I did feel like they hit the, you know, age and income, which is really important to me, especially as I age and have, you know, varied income in my lifetime. So,
I would love to see this one collaborate with the storytellers. Like, it's only because it's only 14 people that are in this too, which to, I mean, not to say only 14, but that's something that could be traveling or going to these people that can't, maybe they probably can't get to the research either necessarily. That
Yeah.
I think there's other ways about using this same thing that could be more inclusive and creative.
Great idea. Great idea,
Well,
Destry.
and this is Bighorn Brass as well. So it might be that they are working on something with icing, because we did see that one of their concerts is collaborating with them. So
so I mean, if Bighorn Brass is the performer,
yes,
and they also are performing in another scenario that we're funding, I would say, regardless of who's using them, we could have a different group that we fund over funding the same group,
or maybe partial fund some things.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna scoot on to the next one while we're still in it to win it. Okay, Experience Theater Project. Thoughts here?
Yeah, so many of these are so great because I love the whole theater part of it, and
to me, this one, I'm a theater kid. I loved it. I directed kids that went to the Shakespeare Festival for the Southwest, and like my group won, so like I'm all about it. But when I think about diversity and how much I see them stress diversity in how it's written in this, and then going through it, looking at their pictures and what is reflected on their website of the actual diversity, I think that it really missed the mark for me. It was kind of all talk, and then I looked through and I'm like, well, it's white, and it's, I mean, predominantly white, and it's Shakespeare. There are other that were submitting things that were maybe more creative within this same niche. And I guess, I mean, it is hard because there's nothing that I have against this group. I think what they're doing is phenomenal and important, but it's also established and really not a creative or innovative, or it's not explaining specifically. It just says we'll allow more community members to be there, but it's still it's vague to me, and how that reach is going to expand it. And when we are limited in who we can award and who's going to make it, is this enough to really make a change and see more? And I don't know.
It literally says, does this project represent any underserved groups? And they said no. They said no. That's literally what's on their application, no.
And then there's other areas that go on and on about it. And that to me was, all right, here's what you wrote for the answer, and here's the truth.
I was just like, you could have just written anything. Just no.
That jumped out at me too. No.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like it was it wasn't like we're trying there was not a lot of stress on who was performing it, or who that diversity, or do you have diverse performances or performers, or are you bringing in a diverse audience? And the answer was kind of just what they said was, no, we're making this accessible, and maybe.
Well,
one of the things that occurs to me for ticketed shows, and I think this is the one that I was really looking hard at the budget, because I was like, wait a minute, in one part it says this, in another part it says this, in another place it says this. I think this is the one.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, and I really didn't feel comfortable with it. I didn't feel comfortable with clarity around their budget. I didn't feel they had, is this the one? No, maybe this was the one. Well, okay. Clarity around the budget, ticket prices. Is this the one that I was saying ticket prices showed, $45, $45 in one place and $35 in another place, or something like that? and so I'm a numbers person, so yeah, this is the one.
Yeah.
I didn't like this at all because I felt like uh, they adjusted the budget to fit what they were asking for. These $45 per ticket, but then there's another thing on their contract that shows a different ticket price.
And it was $55 in another spot in their question and answer.
Yeah, and it didn't work for me, not because I think that they're not being honest, because I think they're just doing their best. But I think what it speaks to is their financial opportunity. And they have the opportunity to make enough money to cover their own costs. They have a really healthy marketing budget, which for me is, that's what I do. And I can promote a show for that much money. And there's a lot they can do with grassroots to share the word, or spread the word. Not, I do agree with, paying artists to do their jobs. So I don't argue with, the salaries look actually quite low, as far as, but I don't know if that's just for the 5-week run or whatever. I don't know. I just felt like it's a ticketed show. Yeah, this is the one. I know that they have the house capacity at 45, but the facility rental, I mean, for $4,800 for the performance space, that's really expensive. You can rent the Aladdin Theater for less than that.
And they've done shows, like dinner theater shows that have like done the whole thing for
so I don't know. I wasn't buying this one. This one it didn't sit with me.
We've
also funded them a lot in the past, so
we've also funded other things over them when we've gotten the same kind of grant applications from them every year, which was always Shakespeare. One year we opted to do students who were doing a Scooby-Doo version of Shakespeare that they had put on together as like a whole class over, because it was just something different.
It's just funny that if they were doing Shakespeare and now that they changed it up by doing Scooby-Doo Shakespeare. That's funny.
It was Scoobert-Doo.
Scoobert-Doo. Yeah, it was a group of kids from ACMA.
How art thou?
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. They are amazing.
It was great. And
And didn't they ask for like $764.55 or something like that? It was like exact.
And it was the dad putting it together, and they did this cute, awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, we provide a very basic spreadsheet for budget wise too. So that confusing one to me, I was like, I just needed the Word doc. That's all I needed.
Well, actually, I like the fact that they had the detail, but when you look at their contract and then you look at their budget, they don't match. And although that may very well be just a simple error, it sort of highlighted to me that they have the opportunity to make the revenue themselves. So
I think it's safe to say that this one may just be out of the running at this point, unless somebody wants to put in a plug for it, which it doesn't sound like it. So why don't we, Court, I'm going to start kind of moving us along because we're already an hour and some change in. So let's go move into the Art Lives Here community grants. And then I think maybe it would make sense to pause and sort of compare and contrast and see, because we had a couple applicants who had applied for both.
Yes. And this one will be short and sweet because there's 4.
Yeah.
Well, I guess those were, did I put them in the wrong spot? I might have put them in the wrong spot on the sheet. Okay. So I'm going to start at the top.
So just to remind you all that we have 15,000 to award in this grant type, and awards are up to 5,000. So that helps you prioritize, I hope.
And this one is for the Blues Mural.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
Listen, so I have an old friend who in Hollywood, California, she grew up there and did I'll make it short, did a mural project on the overhead doors in a kind of a rundown area, and all of like blues and R&B, musicians kind of thing. And I've seen the paintings that were done, and they really are cool.
Yeah, I love this. Checks all my boxes.
Same here.
I feel like this one is just self-explanatory, that it's full on yes.
It's a sort of a no-brainer shoe in.
Yeah. Yeah. This was the easiest one for me.
Yep.
And it's in Denny Whitford, which this grant type was really intended to get art into the neighborhoods, not just in Central Beaverton. And so I just love that it's not in Central Beaverton.
Yeah. Okay. Scooting along.
Yeah,
This
I love
is
the fact that
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, the answer is yes. I won't keep saying why.
This one's more fitting for this than the other, whereas icing is more fitting in that one than this. In my brain. Comments, questions, testimonial, but not from Jayne.
Yeah, I agree.
This bad boy right there. Okay. We've already chatted about them, so I'm gonna move on to the next one. We've chatted about them as well. Okay. And I think it's definitely a better fit for the other one, so. Well, this was one of my passion votes. I don't vote, but I thought this was cool.
Yeah.
We don't get stuff like this. We don't get projects like this.
Yeah, these are so important.
This one, so like I feel like this year we're seeing a lot of grant applications that are really serving or addressing the needs of underrepresented communities. So seniors being one, veterans, we've already funded veteran art programs with a small grant. So this is exactly what we want to see more of.
I'm good with this one for sure.
I was confused a little on this one of, is it just this guy? Is there really a plan? It was very much written in like the I perspective. So as I went through it, and then I went to the website and saw that it wasn't, but I was curious on, is it actually the whole group that's there? I was just this one I just kept going back and forth on, because I thought it was important for the senior center and I loved that aspect of it. I just wasn't, it was just I just had some the budget on like mics and what it was versus being already a part of this group that does it. It was just a little, I was unsure.
Yeah.
Can you pull up the budget real quick?
Yeah, hold on one second. Is it this way or the other way? Okay, it's the other way. Oh, so many screens.
Okay, 1 second.
like, to me, promotional
Mhm.
posters for that
Mhm.
fund, which is one of the biggest costs there. If you're going to
Yeah.
senior centers, like, they live there, right? Like, I'd like, to me, that
Yeah.
was, there were just, it was just, there were, are they inviting other people there? I mean, even with COVID restraints lifted, I know senior centers are like still very high risk. I have friends that have grandmas that are in them. So there
Yeah.
was just, I had just
Yeah.
a lot of questions of
Mhm.
who and what part of this
Yeah.
society was going there. It was just, it was confusing
Yeah.
to me.
It might be that
Yeah.
we need to ask more questions about that too, because it might be like, it might be that it's like graphic design in that cost, but not broken down that way. So
Oh,
I'm not sure, but it might be something like that where they're trying to do it so that they've got the handouts for those folks at those centers. But it's something we would have to ask. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, if it's poster design and printing,
Mm.
but it says funding for printing.
Yeah.
25 posters. What on earth are they? Those are expensive posters.
Well, this part is, yeah, non-existent. That's a period, but yeah.
Well, and one of his
Printing's expensive though these
files,
days.
Mhm.
one of
Printing's
his
very
No.
one of his files that he like uploaded with this that kind of really, I guess, is mostly what turned me off of that. This was kind of my big was that it's just this story again of himself, of talking about his Red Robin experience. And I mean, and is this it just, it made no sense to me
Yeah.
whatsoever why this was included if it's
Yeah.
on behalf of this storytelling group, then is written in the I perspective. And is it just this white guy going around and telling stories? Because for me, that's a no.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
but is it more than that? Who's going to the senior set? I mean, what choices are we making? And
Yeah.
it talks about him being a teacher and his career, and it's all about him. So how involved is it?
Yeah. It's something I want to like, if it makes sense, for sure. Like storytelling is something I want to like. Yeah, but I get it.
Yeah, it's talking about him being a teacher, and I just, I don't understand. I love the idea, but I don't understand any other part of it.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
maybe it's something we have to put on the shelf and like ask him more follow-up too.
Yeah. Or just say it's not really there yet. You know, we feel like we have a lot of unanswered questions. And we can't really say that we can fund this at this time, but please like kind of go back to the drawing board and come back and apply for an open format grant, which is a little bit less, but still significant. So
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's
Yeah.
asking the seniors to tell their stories or if he's telling them stories just in that project impact. I'm like, wait, is the storytelling I don't
I think he's the one that's telling the stories.
It sounds like, I mean, he does say the workshop participants will work together and get to know each other a little deeper. And when they come together,
he's the MC, I read it as, and he gets a group of people
Oh, yeah,
together.
trying to get people to talk, but I mean, that, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, the $625 for printing posters, if it's design and printing, okay. You know, if he's facilitating a group event where people are interacting, these people live together already. Maybe they'll tell their stories. Maybe they won't. You know, participants to work in small groups as they each develop a narrative story of their own. Boy, you have to have a committed group of people to even get involved in that. And, you know, I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea. I just, you know, I think.
Well, and it talks about like his background as a teacher, but then this is a workshop, but then there's artists that are coming and doing, so it's not enough to do some scheduled thing, but it's mental, like it's just very scattered. Yeah, this was
Yeah, and you know, he's a teacher, so maybe he could have written it better, but just from my own personal experience, my dad was before he passed, he was in a senior living, you know, phased care. And I spent a whole month there with him. And the seniors have so many stories to tell and no one to tell them to. And they're just fascinating. I mean, people are there in their 90s and 100s and what they've lived through and the stories they tell, and just someone that would listen to their stories.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
so maybe that's what he's trying to get at, just to give them an opportunity to have a forum to tell these stories. I mean, if I could have written down all the stories that, you know, people that lived there told me while I was with my dad, I could have probably put on so many fun plays. But so maybe that's just what he's trying to do. He's just not articulating it well, but and, you know, at some point there is a venue or an opportunity for that kind of platform.
Well, and that's, I think, the interesting thing of what you just said. If he's there to listen to and tell stories, but he can't articulate his own purpose in this application, that to me is, that's I mean, I think it's a great idea, but it needs to be worked on. And what is he going to do with those stories? Because especially if they are really impactful, and what is success for this? There are so many question marks. But I agree. My grandma was in one. They like, I love that for people, but I don't know what this is that we're.
Yeah. Although I don't know that it needs to be necessarily, like you said, a success or anything on that marker, because I feel like a lot of these people are probably so lonely too. You know, lonely anyway, the fact that they're in these places, but COVID and everything else. So
I think it's like having artists go in there and do an art project with them. He's going in there and doing storytelling. The end result is the story. You know, you don't have anything tangible to put on a shelf, but you have that experience with them.
Well, that's still a measure of success that could be written down, is make people feel good. It doesn't have to, you know, it's subjective, but yeah, that's why it was still confusing of, are you putting on a show or collecting a show or making a show? What is
right.
Yeah, it sort of sounds like all three, because he starts the application by saying that it's a show with a dress rehearsal and so forth.
But doesn't he start by saying he's white?
And then it's interactive.
Times, he's definitely white.
You know, what comes to my mind is NPR does a series called StoryCorps, and you know what I would love to see someone do. I halfway want to do it myself. Is record the stories, like Jayne, what you were just talking about. Like sit down with a microphone in front of, you know, old Grandma Marge and have her tell us the story of her life. And because to me, those are, you know, and the money comes in the editing of stories like that. And some of those are just, they're people have lived extraordinary lives. And that to me would be a greater benefit to the community than just a session of going in, telling stories, having a nice day, and going away. Something that was more like StoryCorps would be something that could be shared in the beyond the community. You know, that could be something where it's like, well, this is what's going on in Beaverton, Oregon. There's like some lady out there interviewing people who are at the ends of their lives, that are telling the stories of their lives. And so,
Well,
let's move on, you guys. I'm just going to be the timekeeper a little bit, because we can come back and I just want to make sure we're able to get through and at least address all of these.
Then let's come back and write our own grant for that.
I know, right?
Okay. I agree. I mean, I've wanted to do it for years.
It's hard when you're looking at an application, you're like, God, I would just be so much stronger if they would have just done this. And then they didn't.
The secretary of the nonprofit too, but it seems like the grant is for him. So is it for it's just it's confusing.
there would be a lot of feedback to offer if we don't fund.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's good.
definitely.
Yeah. Okay, this is the Weir Path mural.
Oh, yeah.
And Laura, I think I put this in the wrong section on the spreadsheet. Sorry.
Oh, okay. This is an Art Lives Here community grant. Yeah.
I think it's up in the top, but I might have put it in the community grants one. Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is the one that they were also going to be requesting matching grant funds from the neighborhood association. Laura has chatted with these folks. I know we talked about it for a few seconds earlier, but
Yeah, I love this one. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I went out there and I walked the path with her, and it is a really it's a great opportunity to bring some life and some vitality to that neighborhood. And it's also like the school, there's an elementary school right there. So people are using that path. And so I just feel like from a community arts perspective, it's such a home run. And they have the leverage, they already have commitment of the NAC matching grant. So they won't be able to do this project unless we fund this project.
And they have artists and student artists. I mean, yeah, they have all the safety permitting. You see the pit. Yeah, I give this one a perfect score. I checked every box for me on.
Yeah. And it's not downtown.
Yeah,
it's somewhere else. It's not central.
Nothing against downtown, but we just need to share the love a little bit around.
Yeah. Especially as Laura says that this is this grant type was literally made to get things out of downtown. So, so we're gonna keep moving, keep scooting. Ooh, summer drama camp.
Drama camp, yeah.
I do like that it's a different age group. And the fact that they said that they've been in conversation with staff at the Reeser makes me think that they're actually chatting with them, hopefully. But I'm not sure who they've chatted with over there.
No.
Any comments?
It's really hard for us to know. I mean, unless someone from the Reeser reaches out to us, there's no way for us to know.
Yeah. Any comments? Or we're going to keep scooting. Okay, going once.
Move it.
Okay, it was in the mid ground. Nobody said anything, so it's okay. This guy put in 3 grant applications.
Oh.
And I don't know that I knew what any of them were.
Same here. It was very confusing.
Yeah, this one was.
It just seems like he's an individual artist just trying to
get funding,
get some support, and it's definitely not appropriate for Art Lives Here.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Yeah,
I agree.
Okay. Laura, before we move on to the smaller ones, do we want to look at the 2 big ones as a whole then?
Yeah, I would like to just see if we can get to the top 5 at least for the large grants, and 3 or 4 for Art Lives Here if we need to, because what I want to try to suss out is, are we going to do a partial award, and what does that look like? Are we going to award more grants than fewer, and lessen the amounts, that kind of thing? I just want to, because we want to be efficient with time. So it seems like Peruvian Cultural Festival is in.
This one should actually be up higher, but for some reason the score is not pushing it up, and I don't know why.
So Kourtnee, can you resort them from, we're just going to go through large grants right now.
Okay.
and pick the top 5 in the large grants based on like what the conversation we've had.
Mhm.
So it seems that Peruvian Cultural Festival was a winner. Beaverton Community Band was a winner. Willamette Writers was a winner. Icing Choir was a winner. And then that's where it gets tricky. Do we do Painted Sky? Do we do, I mean, so I think we can all agree that TV Creates is better served in the Art Lives Here grant category.
Yeah.
So we can just take them out of the consideration. So I think what I really want to talk about is how do we include Painted Sky? Because I think that the others they haven't really coalesced into warranting grant funding. So
Or are we thinking about partial funding of any of these? Yeah.
so the amounts are, so Peruvian's 5, Beaverton Community Band is not though, is it?
3,500.
3,500. Willamette Writers is
I think it was less.
1855.
Icing was 5.
Symphony Orchestra was 5. TV Creates, we're not going to count in this category. Painted Sky was 5. And this was 3675 or something like that.
Okay.
And then
So I think we can't really, I mean, I think we really need to say we can't fund Eric Westwood.
Yeah, I think the last two, the
Yeah.
Eric Westwood Memorial Fund and the Experience Theater Project.
I agree.
And then
How much from Painted Sky up does that hit the mark?
I think
we're a
gonna
little
be
bit
over.
over. We're a little bit over. So without, just with the top ones, the top 3, the symphony, the Peruvian Festival, Beaverton Community, and the next one down, the Writers.
Hold on, I'm trying to do math and that at the same time.
That's
Sorry.
10. That's 10,355 if I got it right, which means, maybe we just.
We have 25 to award in this category.
Oh, okay. I thought we had 15. Okay.
No,
Okay.
that's
Good.
what lives here.
So if we then had Icing, the Symphony, and what's the next one?
The next one would be Painted Sky.
Painted Sky. There's 25,000.
It's just over 25.
Yeah, it's just over 25, $355 over 25. So pull out that $350 out of one that doesn't need it so much, especially if there's one that is a revenue generating one. We know Painted Sky needs the money to function, or maybe some of the others don't need the money as much.
Yeah.
I would say maybe like the Peruvian Festival,
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I feel like they are, because the others have put such a precise amounts, that they need every penny of that.
Yeah.
Also that there will be revenue generation at the Peruvian Festival.
There you go. Yeah. Pull out 355 out of theirs. And
this is my passion vote though.
Eric Westwick.
Yeah.
Can he fit in another category or?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just don't want it to fall off completely if it is something else that we could think of at some point. Not just that they've done that and maybe they do keep it at the same location. They've just put on such great shows. And if we're dropping something like the storytelling and it's hitting that same kind of age group that's really going to that I just don't want them to be forgotten about while we're thinking about all this.
But isn't it still the big brass band concert that they're putting on, which we want?
For part of it, yeah. for part, and I'm not sure which one, I can't remember which one Icing was working with them on that. Yeah. Okay.
So what's it? So we can't fund the Eric Westway if we do.
Well, we wouldn't be able to fully fund something we're not going to fully fund anyway. If we're fully funding all of them, I think we're at 25,355.
Does that include Eric Westway or no?
No, that would be another
38, right? 3,800.
36 something.
3650.
It might have been 38. 3675. Yeah.
I mean, it's hard, you guys. This is we're gonna have to make decisions because it's, you know, we only have a finite amount. I mean, I think that we also have to think about, like, we've funded Eric Westwig for a number of years now consecutively.
Yeah.
And I think he's still going to have a venue to do this at. That I think is the big thing, is that this is still gonna, there's at this church, it's a holiday thing. I think that the main cost of this going into it is the venue, I think, versus their established.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing that we could potentially do is we could recommend the funding amount and pull it from a combination of open format and small grants. That's really like, if we felt really compelled to fund, that's kind of the only way to cut that, or to, you know, mine from Art Lives Here, you know, the budget's fixed. So
and it being so focused on Christmas to me too is just another lack of diversity that we're bringing into the city, when there is a venue, like a church is a more appropriate thing for it's Christmas, where we're trying, because this is all for their Christmas concert, and it's the St. Matthew's Choir, so there is a certain religious connotation with this, and it's the predominant, it's not a diverse religion or something that we're not learning about Christmas from them. We all know Christmas, and that's they're not going to fail by not being able to perform at the Reeser.
Although my two things, and this is just for this, they have gotten funded in the past. I think they usually requested more like $1,000 when it was a smaller one, when they were just doing the community grant. So maybe it is something that we would partially fund or something like that. My second thing, and not to say that it's not Christmas, because it's holiday, of course, is that we don't have a lot of other projects or anything we're funding around that time of year. We're not doing events usually at that time of year. So it's kind of one of those things that fills that, like, not fills a gap, but something that's happening at that time of year. I think our only other event during that time is like the tree lighting. A lot of our grant funded ones too are going to be in like July, June, springtime, kind of
the
thing.
summer months.
So, and this is like one of those actual winter ones where there's that.
So my recommendation is that this not receive a large grant, but that we look at the other grant categories and figure out if we have some room to do a partial award. That's kind of that's what my instinct tells me is the best approach. So why don't we put that on the shelf for the moment and move on to Art Lives Here and talk about those. You're just deftly navigating this, Kourtnee.
A lot of back and forth.
Want to show some appreciation. It's a lot.
My brain. So. I'm sorry if I'm just like speaking in tongues. My brain is like.
Yeah, I know it's hard. It's hard to do it all. Okay, so I think Amaranta was definitely a winner. That one is I don't think we need to discuss that. TV Creates, I think, is the winner. I don't think we need to discuss that. Icing is getting funded through the large grants. So then I think the discussion is really between the NAC and Michael Devaney. Is that the storytelling?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, like, I feel like the NAC really needs it, you guys.
Yeah.
We just don't have them apply for things very often, and I think it's an important project. They may have underplayed how important it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'll go with that one.
Yeah.
I fully agree.
And as much as I like the storytelling, we had one last year that it was the American Filipino Society who applied for one, and they went to do storytelling, but from a lot of Filipino nurses and people who were working with COVID patients, and kind of turned that into like video storytelling that they could share with others. So like, you know, there's more to it if he can get there in the future.
I'd love to see this one come back with something more thorough that I think is important.
Same. I think we should definitely encourage them to resubmit, and maybe even right away, so that we can review a follow-up application at our next iteration. Okay, so let's move on to our open format.
Okay. Anybody else have any passion votes?
Nope, I agree with you all.
Okay. Sydney, Lynn, any passion votes?
I don't want to like, I don't mean to like speak for you guys. I just want to, I hope I'm being representative and kind of pitching some good.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to share, I know I've been not as vocal during this, but I've been listening, and I just want to share that I really appreciate all the thoughtful commentary, and this is a first for me, and I'm excited to be here and hearing all of this, and I fully agree with all of the things that have been said so far, and I've been like, you know, clapping and cheering, and I'm transitioning back home from work, and it's just such a, it's there's a lot going on this evening, so thank you for keeping me in the loop, and carry on. I'm excited for where this is going, and just wanted to say something. So that's all.
Thanks, Leah.
Appreciate you all. I can't stare at these myself. Okay, so ignore this one down here. That's the new one. Sneak peek, a little sneaky peeky for you guys. Okay, so we've got Jayne that was doing the book publishing. This was the one for the student studio space. This teacher also wrote 3 recommendation letters for some of the kiddos for the Youth Art Awards. So
I love this one.
Love it.
My passion vote. This is my passion vote right here. Seeing it, the pain. I mean, this is like such a grassroots thing, and our schools aren't funded. And here's this teacher going above and beyond to get this grant for his classroom. Yeah, like all my eggs are in his basket.
Yeah.
Like that's give it to him.
I love it.
Yeah.
Who's okay, so and then Janthe is she has the book project.
Yeah.
So those 2 are really strong. I mean, they really responded to the sort of ethos of the grant type. Like they really embraced that. So I feel like I would recommend funding those. So let's look at the third.
Oh yeah, hold on one second. Let me just make sure that I think he was requesting what, 1855, something like that.
Yeah, he had a specific amount.
Very specific.
Yeah.
Oh, 1524. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that just shows you like such
He's
an
a teacher. Yeah. He's like, I know that funds are tight. This is exactly the amount I need. Bless you. This was the person that did applied for 3 different grant types. I
Okay.
don't know that we really need or want to look into it and spend too much time on it. It was very much requested $5,000 if the grant was $5,000, or requested $2,500 for the grant that was $25,000. It was very not
Yeah.
Well, and I just didn't see any
yeah.
community benefit. It was like it's a business looking for a loan.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I wish that there was like a more thoughtful project, or like he was
Yeah.
planning to teach a free workshop in airbrush or something
Yeah.
like that, that really like that
Yeah.
was that there was benefit. And I think that like the public benefit is it just doesn't carry here at all.
Yeah, I wanted it to be, but I couldn't.
I want to be able to support them too. And if
Yeah.
there was one, like the open format would be the most appropriate, but I still just don't think like we can really make the justification that there's public benefit.
Yeah. And I mean, comparatively.
Yeah.
Well, and I would rather, honestly, like I would rather see Westwig get partial funding
Yeah.
and instead of, you know.
Yeah. Well, and this
figure out
isn't even bringing us to 5,000. So this is what bringing us to, what did we say his was just a second ago, 1525?
Yeah,
Yeah.
1525.
So 4,025 right here. Knowing that we'll probably have a couple others
more.
roll in. Yeah, but
Yeah.
okay. Any other comments on these few? I'm gonna skip to the small ones. Cool. Just so we've regrouped. We're on a roll. We're going. It's happening. Okay, and there again.
Yeah.
For the third one. So I don't think that one needs to get looked at. Another one who has gotten repeat funding over the years, but as opposed to like a $5,000 budget, like something like Experience Theater, they've only ever requested 1,000. They do a lot of shows. They do them free in the library lawn. They only ask for what they need. So we know these guys.
Yeah, this one to me was a no-brainer. It was the opposite of the issues I had with some of the other ones. This was exactly what it should be.
And it's Winnie the Pooh. I love Winnie the Pooh.
Exactly. Not problematic. He's just Winnie the Pooh.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, we're gonna scoot through these real quick. This one I loved.
Yeah.
Japanese Taiko workshop for another school. They're trying to make it work and get things.
I was wondering on this one because they said it's for this year and next year. So how feasible is that? Because they had 21, 22, and then it's for the fourth grader next year. Like, I don't see how realistically that will be planned for this year, but that's part of then the amount that they're requesting for their grant. So their budget to me was a little vague. And then I also was kind of searching for some other cultural context. Everything is kind of emphasizes that they'll feel it by playing the drums, and especially looking at having 2 of them, like how is that happening for this year, and then what are students learning, what are we asking of teachers to hurry up and incorporate this fourth grader like day in the end of April for next year. Amazing, but I don't know how they could.
Although this is one of the too, and I don't know if you were thinking about it this way, it's one of the small grants too, so it's a rolling deadline, so it doesn't necessarily need to be something that's in next fiscal year either, as in July 1 through next June 30th. This can be anytime. So if they could turn something around before the end of this school year, that is something that they would be able to use this for. Whereas any of the like large project grant ones or Art Lives Here are for July 1st through the end of next year. So this is one of those weird overlapping ones.
Yeah, I think I was just looking at it in terms of their budget in referring to the fourth graders of 21 to 22 and 23 to 24, because I mean, if they're only doing one workshop, it was just kind of like, okay, well, where's that other 600 going if you can't? Is it a summer thing? I mean, it was, because I love it. I was just,
and I love Portland Taiko, love them.
I think it's reasonable to, I think, expect that they could do 2 workshops, one this academic year, one next academic year. It seems that they're each $600. So $1,000 doesn't even fully cover the cost of 2, but I think gives them a pretty fair shot at it. So
right, that makes sense too.
I do like that it's someone from a different culture trying to bring in more of that as well into the school. Not just somebody from the outside looking in and trying to plan something for them that they don't necessarily like resonate with. So okay, scooting on. I did think this was cool, more online presence for their foundation. Reading their budget though, they have to pay their grant writer $100 of it. And I'm like, so they only get 900 if they get this grant? Like that's crummy. Was kind of my first initial thing was that they have to pay their grant writer 100 out of it if they get the grant.
It also, their entire website, which is part of what they're saying, is that it's to translate to English, but going to their website, I mean, it's in Russian. I don't know what I'm looking at. And given the current state of global affairs, that to me was difficult, as far as like, I love this and I love for our community and separating that and knowing that not all people are representative of what's going on, but then in trying to see, okay, so what is this that you're asking for? There's no point of reference that is clear at all to me. I mean, you could Google Translate or have it was a little bit vague given things.
Any other thoughts, questions, testimonials? Scooting, I'm just scooting. Okay, we're not going to chat about this. We've seen this one twice.
No.
Okay. That's our 4. And we've done 1 out of this, so we have 9,000. So we could even fund those top 2 and still have funds left for the rest of the fiscal year for anything that pops up if we consider doing the top.
I mean, does anybody want to strongly advocate for Scarlet Sails Cultural Foundation? I don't. Yeah, you're kind of on the fence about it.
Okay.
I feel like I definitely don't want to expend all of our small project funds. So I would just say maybe the top 2 would be
I agree.
wise.
I'm just gonna give my 0.02 cents on one thing that passed by, which is the book writing thing. We talked about that in our last meeting, and I wasn't completely sold on it, to be honest with you. I look back through all the things that she had done in the past, and although I found them really rich and useful, I felt like here's someone who's been funded repeatedly, but the impact has been
Mhm.
relatively small,
Yeah,
and to the same community.
yeah. Are
So
you talking
I
about
was-
Jayne?
Jayne, this is
Yes.
for the
Yep.
open format.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I do agree. I guess I missed when we were talking about her, because when I looked at some of this, it was the same issues that we'd had the last time we talked
Mhm.
about it, of like the website wasn't updated, or there was just a lot of things that were very dated for. And then yes, what with Lynn saying of someone who's been awarded this many times, and then the impact, it was kind of like, okay, but there's not more.
Yeah, I felt like it was a personal funding to write and publishing a book. I didn't feel like it had a broader impact.
I agree. I don't even think I voted on this one. I just didn't see the value. I thought I probably should have voted it.
I'm gonna pull it up with the open
Yeah,
format.
I was gonna say, can you pull it up? Because it got a really high score. So I just want to make sure that we're not
Just scoring to score either. Yeah.
we're just not like hearing from someone here that felt strongly about it.
Yeah. Let's see.
I mean,
It's the second one.
Yeah.
It got a 76.
It scooted down a little bit since earlier. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and I know that I didn't finish. I had a bunch of things that were just being held. I was trying to submit, but I guess I can't submit anything anymore.
It should be able to submit still.
Yeah.
April
Just
had.
realized that I think you can. Yeah.
I wasn't getting in. I saved mine all as like drafts, and then since we've been on the meeting, I've been trying to get in, and I haven't been able to get in.
What web browser are you using?
Chrome.
Okay, that should work well. So that might be.
I mean, I don't know at this point if it really makes a difference, right? I think in terms of scoring. Yeah, I think I think it's really more about the conversation, and it seems like we don't really have resounding support for that project.
Yeah, I would have voted low on this one because it's just the reasons I just described.
Yeah.
Which probably would have driven the score down more. So.
Mine too.
Yeah.
But is it who vote? I mean, someone feel passionate about it. I think it got a 70. What, a 73?
It looks like there's only 2 of us that actually voted on it.
3.
Yeah, 3. Yeah.
So that's part
I
of
gave
it.
it a decent vote, but that was only because of the piece about donating the books to the libraries and some of the other stuff. But I did think it seemed weird getting the funding for like publication costs. I did think that was weird. So the only redeeming thing for me was submitting all the copies and donating them and kind of bringing people together outside of that.
Yeah.
But I'm not super passionate about it. That's just the reason for my score maybe being a little higher.
Okay.
Thanks, Sydney.
Thank you. And April had the highest score on it, but she wasn't able to come and didn't give me a passion vote for it necessarily. So, and it might have been just thinking that something along what Sydney was saying and not seeing them as a whole while we're chatting about it.
We could do a quick yes, no with the group right now if you want.
I mean, I think that it's helpful actually. And I think we've got some strong feedback to give to Janthe if we don't fund. So so can I here, I'm gonna just change my view here so I can see everybody. Can I either get a raised hand in video or a hand emoji? Raise your hand if you are a yes. Okay, so no hands raised. I think we have to not fund Janthe's. I think the other, so Mask al Fresco seems like there's support behind Mask al Fresco, and then the school project.
Yeah.
And then
this is the open format and small together. So yeah,
this was okay. I was like,
this was the small And then this is open format, and this was the teacher. And then this is the
That's the
Taiko.
Taiko.
And then we didn't have strong support for either of those.
Yeah, I think that's where I would say we should fund, is from Bonnie Slope up.
Minus Jayne.
Minus Janthe. So do we have support for funding Mask al Fresco? What is the name of the school? What is it's the school project?
The Beaverton Academy of Science and Engineering.
Thank you.
That one.
Thank you. I need to put it to memory. And then I can't scroll. So
Hold on, sorry, I'm writing.
Bonnie.
it's okay.
Bonnie
And then the Bonnie
Slope.
Slope, the Taiko. So if you don't want them to be funded, raise your hand. Okay, so that takes care of our small grants and our open format grants. So let's go back and hash the large and our lives here grants out. I think a few of them we know for sure, right? And I think it's about deciding
what's left.
what's left. Yeah. Well, and I think there's the Eric Westwig question.
Okay, so we want to look at these as a whole, correct? Like both of them at once?
We can at this point, that's fine.
Okay.
So Peruvian is a yay, but we thought maybe we could reduce their amount, right?
And that would help cover the extra from Painted Sky if we did do that.
So I might fund them at like 4,500. Amaranta is a yes, full 5,000. TV Creates is a yes at 5,000. Beaverton Community Band is a yes, and they are at 3,800. Is it 30? Sorry. There's a lot that are like 38, 35, 36, and I get them all.
Which I appreciate, but then I can't remember. 35, yes.
35, okay.
Hold on a second. I got a spreadsheet started here. I can't do anything without a spreadsheet. So Amarantha is 5,000. TV Creates is 5,000. What's the other one in the middle?
Peruvian Festival at 4,500.
Okay.
I appreciate the spreadsheets because I'm running the computer.
Yeah, I got it.
I have a spreadsheet. Laura's looking at it.
Well, I don't have it up right now. And the Beaverton Community Band was 3,500.
3,500, yes.
Okay, 3,500. Got it. Is that it?
And then Painted Sky.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Willamette Writers was 5.
1855.
Oh, 1855. Sorry.
Wait, hold on. Let me just double check.
Yeah, I thought they were like 18 or something.
Yeah, they only asked for what they needed. 1855, yes, okay.
Yep.
Which helps out the balancing act a little bit.
Okay.
And then icing is 5K.
Okay, hold your horse. Okay.
Just one horse.
Yeah.
All I need is one horse.
We're going over here.
I thought icing was going to be in the other grant.
These are both of them combined in one.
Okay.
One lump.
Okay, got it.
So we have 40 between the two of these, Lynn, if that helps you.
Got it. Yep, that helps.
Yes.
Okay, continue.
BSO Beaverton Symphony was 5,000.
Okay.
Passing up that TV Creates because we already gave them one. Passing up more icing. Here's Painted Sky.
Yeah, we already got that one.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I'm trying to write and scroll.
It's okay.
Okay.
We're skipping Eric Wiswig. Beaverton,
now.
South Beaverton, hold on,
Knack.
Mhm.
Beaverton neighborhood.
Yes,
How much for that?
5,000.
5,000.
Okay, next.
I think that was it.
I think that's
Yep.
it, unless, let's see
Are you
what our
sure?
tally is and what we have
Wait.
left.
What's below that? Village home education.
This was the student summer camps, but we had literally no comments from the peanut gallery.
Oh,
We had
village
no
home
passionate anything.
education. Okay. It rated really low.
Yeah,
Well, and
unfortunately.
we have other youth theater options.
Yeah, we do have other youth ones, which is nice.
Okay,
And-
so right now, okay, I feel like there's something missing. Can you just keep scrolling down past the village home? Beaverton Association, Village Home, and Mr.
That's
Submission, three
Yeah.
times submission.
Yeah.
Okay, so, okay, y'all.
What's our
The
math
proof-
at?
What's your spreadsheet magic?
My spreadsheet magic always makes me happy because I love my spreadsheets. Without Eric Wiswig at all,
Mhm.
we're at 34,855. So we could give the Peruvian festival their full 5,000 and still fully fund at, just shy of 5,000 for the Wiswig.
Actually, I think his was 3675. So
Okay, 3675.
Mhm.
That puts us at 35,355. So we still have leftover money.
wow, look at us going under budget.
I feel like, do we miss something?
Yeah,
I feel
did
like
we
we
miss
missed
something?
something.
There's got to be something we missed. I'm doing more math
Here,
again.
I gotta get out of the screen and look
Sure.
at this spreadsheet.
Hold on a second. Let me share my screen.
Hi all.
Yeah, share, if Lynn could share her screen.
Oh, hang on a second, Lynn. I have to make you a co-host.
Yeah, because I just got 40,000.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on. Hold your horse.
I wanted to bring up, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Okay. I wanted to bring up, because wasn't it that we don't need to use the full budget for this, that it
Mhm.
might be okay to err on the side of just, funding what versus spending everything.
Yep.
So I just wanted to say that out loud. And then I was curious, was there one, I thought I remembered one, there was a mural artist, a Black woman.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's the one we're missing.
Yep.
Where I didn't recall
That's
hearing.
the
I just
first
don't know if
one.
it had been talked about.
That's the Amarantha.
Oh, yeah. it is.
Okay. All right. Thank you for clarifying.
What are
I'm
we
excited
missing?
that one is included.
Amarantha, TV Creates, Community Band, Willamette Writers, Icing Choir, Beaverton Symphony, Painted Sky, South Beaverton. Yeah, your spread, yeah. Okay. My math came up different, but I'm just clicking it in my thing too, so you never know.
Okay.
It's just like one of those stressful things of like,
Yeah, no, it is. It
Yeah.
matters, Kourtney,
This is
and
why-
I think we should double, triple, quadruple check because
Yeah, because I just got
we do not
39.
have the wiggle room in our budget to absorb any.
Yeah, because I got 39,855 twice in a row. Without Eric's. So
Well, this
Hold on.
shows 44. So what's the issue? Hold on a second. It's not. There we go.
okay, yeah, that's more right. Or not more right, but closer to
must
what
have
I
been-
have.
It must have. I probably added some down here.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we get to remove for $4,030.
So I think we do take the Peruvian
Mhm.
down to 4,500.
Yeah. And maybe what we do is if we need to adjust something, we
What
could
if we
take
just-
that one down, or we could take some from the open format.
Here's another idea. What if we ended up doing something like this, where we drop everybody?
But isn't that going to impact like her artist supplies and with different
Yeah,
budgets that
Yeah.
we can't drop for murals and the teacher?
I don't think we can do that.
Yeah. I think it's whether or not we take.
I think
some
we're
from open
really
format.
better off to not fund Eric or fund Eric Westwig out partially out of another grant type.
Mhm.
Okay, let's just take him
That's,
out.
yeah,
And
that-
Yeah,
that's,
that was the number I
the
had.
most responsible option, because I do think that there are applicants who just cannot, they need every cent of that 5K.
there.
I think
that
we were
gives them-
gonna, well, I think we were gonna give 5,000 too, weren't we?
Yeah.
Oh, I say you did.
Well,
it
and
that
we don't
way.
have to do that either. We could still put 4,500 at Peruvian. If we think about it that way, then we're only taking 500 or whatever it is from
We're
this
not
one.
taking
Or-
anything. Nothing's been reduced. It's all the
well,
only one
the
we.
Peruvian is.
Peruvian has
46.
been reduced.
Mhm.
Yeah, the only one that's been reduced is a Peruvian, but none of the others. If we
And
do
the
it
reason
like
for that is that it's a revenue generating event.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
that would work. Whoops, wrong way. There's your budget.
Literally on the cent because you
Yeah.
adjusted it.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we go and we looked at open format, I think we had two definites for open format. So that's no.
No, because we're dropping Jaynthes. So I think the only one that we had for open format was the teacher that was doing it for the studio space. I can pull it up again. Hold on one second.
I'm looking too.
We're not
Yeah,
giving
My
right,
Bonnie
brain is
Slope.
my brain is like what?
Yeah, Bonnie Slope.
Bonnie Slope.
There's two.
Oh, Bonnie Slope was
Oh, that's
out of
that's the
that's a
small grant.
Mhm.
And what's the amount?
Yeah,
We're
we are
1,000.
only giving one, and that for open format, and that's $1,524.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
I mean, we could, if we wanted to do this, we could just assign Westwig a open format grant amount of 2,500.
Yeah, because we're literally only funding this one now. Oh, there's your sneak peek down there.
I think
for
that's
next
fair.
time.
Because that means that they may not be able to do the show at the Reeser, but if they have the venue already that they've used in the past, it would help support their event costs.
Mhm.
I like that idea.
How does everybody else feel about it? Or would we rather just not fund at all? And
I felt like it was something that they can do on their own. I mean, I didn't, I looked at the budget, I looked at the whole scenario, and it just looked like, I don't know. I mean,
It feels like a privilege gift of
it
like you have
does.
the privilege of having a history with the Beaverton and working in this, and now we feel like we need to give you this out of a passion vote, because yeah, if I hadn't known that, I mean, it would have been a point blank hard no for me. I think it's
Yeah.
religious. I think it's bringing in very specific I just have a lot of, it's a Christmas concert. All the songs that are listed for there are, it's one targeted, the majority, one nation under God without diversity type situation in my mind. I'm sure they're a great person, but just like for other reasons, that was just a no.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to fight it or bring it up again because I know that you have a passion vote for it. So I wasn't going to, but when I specifically asked, yeah, I'm not going to lie. This to me feels like it's something.
I concur.
Does anybody have a strong, I mean, Kourtnee and I are not voting. So does anybody have a strong vote of support for funding Eric Westwig?
It's not strong for me, but you know, I could go either way.
Okay.
I mean, I don't even know what happened to his son, but you know, I don't know. He's putting on a concert for elderly people, or you know, I agree, you know, with Destry, yeah, it's a Christmas concert and all, and but I don't know the history.
With open format, can't we keep accepting applications rather than, so can't he have the opportunity to come back and rather than us just say, here, because there's a passion vote for you that we're doing this, which is this handed over privilege versus can you reapply in an open format to be considered? I think that would be a more fair way in my perspective. Or what is the nonprofit, do they do things other than Christmas concerts, or is that only it? Are there other ways of supporting this? I guess that's,
I mean, I think that the timing might be tricky just because I think well, it's possible. If they're doing a holiday show, they could apply in June for funding. I just think that, like, I don't know. I mean, it's sort of I would almost rather just say you weren't funded than we want you to apply for this other grant type that it sort of feels like a consolation. And I think really it means that we just shouldn't fund at any level. And should he apply for, that's his choice to do that, but I think that that's what I'm hearing. And
what was the other, what you said there was another category, it was like 1,500 or 2,500. What was that category?
That's the open format.
Open format's 2,500 and small is 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like just throwing money, like a small amount of money at it might not be the best. I would rather just say like, it was a really competitive year and unfortunately you weren't funded. You know, that's the reality some years. It's just, and are they able to do the concert even still? Probably.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, even going just now to the website to see what I could find or pull my heartstrings, it's a very religious connotation in every aspect of it. And it's not something that seems to occur other than in this Christmas setting. And they have, it seems more suited for that audience. That's what it is. It's about bringing God and celebrating that for their family personally in this memorial. And when it's this competitive, and the more I read, the more that I mean, it's sad, and we've supported them in the past. And
yeah,
well,
just to be clear, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that there's nothing that prohibits us from funding a religious organization. So yeah. I want to be very clear about that. That should not be like a criteria for like disqualification because it's at a religious institution, or if it's right. Arts programming. Yeah. And I just want to make sure that that's out
right.
there.
Yeah, I was thinking of it in terms of diversity. That was it's the same. It was in that, not it
Okay.
just wasn't the
Yeah.
diversity of the religion. Yeah.
Although it would be the same if it was like a specific festival celebrating a specific culture, or for a group of like, not that I'm
Yeah.
saying that it's not that.
Well-
I mean like that if it was like for students, for young people, it's specifically for young people, or it's specifically for this, or it's for specifically, I think they write holiday concert instead of Christmas concert, probably. It's for people specifically going to that. So I do get that point. But
Yeah.
it's not that we're not funding things that are specific for certain ones either.
Right. Yeah.
If-
I
if
would
that makes
just, yeah,
sense.
it's more that I would be inclined to go for something that wasn't the normed religion. It's not that I'm against this. It's that I would be more motivated for something that isn't known.
Well, you're saying something that's less the majority and more the minority.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the
Diversity.
diversity.
Yeah.
Diversity angle,
Well,
which
yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense.
The
Although-
underrepresented. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think, yep.
It's a hard decision, and it's your decision to make. And I think that's where, I mean, you don't have to feel bad. It is just the reality of it. Like, there are years that we can't fund everyone. And I mean, Kourtnee and I can
So what
break
about
it, Chuck.
What about Sydney and Haleah? You guys want to chime in on this one? You've heard from the rest of us.
Sure. The only thing about this that I think is really cool is it's super affordable, and it seems like the reach is very large, not only with the live audience, but also the live streaming. And I do see what you all are saying about it being a Christmas thing and wanting to elevate more underrepresented groups instead of just like the typical Christian Christmas thing. But I think that this type of event, with how affordable it is, can bring a lot of different types of people together. And I think the holidays can be really hard for people who can't afford some of those more grandeur events. And so to be able to go to something really cool in a really beautiful space for only $5 with free coffee and treats, despite whatever your religion is, I think is a cool opportunity. But I'm not discounting any of the comments that have already been made.
Hi there. I
Hi.
fully agree. I've been listening in, and I think it is, I appreciate the aspect of traditions, and I also appreciate the initiatives for what the city is aiming towards and intentionally targeting for promoting community. And so it fits in multiple ways, and it also can be seen as something that might also be offered just in general, as it is part of dominant culture in that sense. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I'm wondering if we could do like an open format, or even trim some of the other ones that are the full 5,000.
I would rather award an out of the open format, and like maybe I guess it would be more appropriate to just give an open format grant than deduct from other applicants.
As someone, if I didn't know anything, because the only reason I know that there's a history with the arts committee is because of, obviously, we've had this discussion of the passion aspect of it. But if I was going through this like I did earlier when I was reviewing all the grants, I mean, it's got to be equitable, and it's not equitable if I feel that I'm judging this person based on their history within the committee, because I go to this website, it's outdated. The only thing I see is, the 2021 concert from last year. So is this a one-time thing? To me, the only reason that I think we're having this discussion is because of the privilege of this person deserving the discussion. And I think that's the system that I know I'm here to break and correct, is not to, this is, it's just like Jayne can't vote for, you know, TVC. There's a certain level of, and not that, nothing against you whatsoever, Kourtnee. I don't mean to be coming at you, because trust me, like, I'm passionate, obviously, based on this in the same way. So I don't want you to feel like I'm like coming at you for any reason, because I totally understand. But through my lens as someone who has no history and trying to judge everyone fairly, I don't feel that bringing in that kind of perspective is fair to other. We can say the same thing for Jonthi, or not, you know, having it was the cost of the publishing. Well, this is the cost of having it at the Reser.
Yeah. My thing was more that it is something around the holidays, in a time that we don't have other events going on. And if we're not doing something like the storytelling, and it is a lot of those older folks who like to enjoy that kind of stuff, or maybe it's family time kind of things, that without the storytelling one, we weren't really fitting that as much anymore. And that's kind of what it was. And not that they've haven't been funded, because they have. I mean, so is Magical Fresco, so is Jayne. A lot of these have been refunded and refunded. It's just that falls out of the same old ones for me at some point, you know, because it's just like, it's a different time of year when there's not a lot of other activity. And something like how the storytelling one was going to be for the seniors, even if this isn't for necessarily for the seniors, a lot of seniors probably do go.
Wouldn't it
and
be
it was the age diversity, the age diversity, and too, not just other diversity. Thinking about all of it. And that is my last comment.
What were you gonna say, Destry?
Wouldn't it have been free at a church? Because isn't this saying it's almost free at the Reser, and at a church were they charging more? Is that because if we're looking at it in that way of who can attend and the event, this event has obviously gone on. The difference here of what this grant is the Reser as its location. Whereas someone who is seeking out this holiday event, we're not saying that if we don't give them this grant that the event can't happen, because obviously they've gotten the event. So what is the cost been? There's
I mean,
is it, oh, sorry to interrupt. Is it true? I mean, I'm just trying to follow along. This particular grantee has been awarded in the past.
yes.
So it's fair to say that they might choose to apply again. And also, again, if we don't use the full amount of what we have available, they could be eligible with another opportunity to apply again. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, that is definitely possible. And I will also say that there are a lot of applicants who have historically been funded that have been recommended for funding here. So that's a hard one, right? Because there's some new players in there, and you want to support them.
Yeah, this actually.
But I also feel like the most respectful thing is to say to Chuck, who's the applicant, you know, it just was a competitive cycle. And I think that we would encourage you to reapply under a different grant type. And here were some of the concerns, and we'd like you to address those concerns in your application and let it be, you know? I mean, I think that's, we're not really required to give any more explanation than that.
It says here that it was literally free before, and they asked for donations at the door, and they didn't get donations. So if anything, now it's costing money. It's now gone up. So for that to be, it's at the Reser, but now it's charging people money, and we're doing a grant. I mean, that was one of my questions, and I did just find it that so now it costs something, whereas in a church it was free.
They're all valid points. And I think we have gone well over time, and I think what I would like to propose is that we not recommend funding and that we encourage Chuck to reapply in our next cycle for our June review for open format and to address some of the concerns that have come out. And I think he would be happy to. I do want to address one thing about, you know, I think it's really hard right now. I think sometimes we lose sight of the fact that the last 2 years we haven't been able to have concerts by and large. And so it's really hard to show a presence or, you know, even show that work has happened when authentically, like it really hasn't. People have not been gathering in spaces. And I just want, just make sure that we're conscientious about that. And it shouldn't be a reflection on these applicants who have like a long history of producing these events, and they just don't have anything to show for it in the last couple of years. I'm sure we're going to see that in other ways as well. Okay, well, you all are endurance marathon runners. I appreciate it, and I really appreciate the candid conversation and all of the insights that you offer. And I think you've done a really solid job, and I think we have a really wonderful group of grantees. And I'm so excited to share this with the rest of the commission. Does anybody want to speak on behalf of this committee at our next commission meeting to capture the recommendations for funding for grantees? We don't really have a chair per se, do we, Kourtnee, of this group? Yeah, I think we're without chair.
I'm gonna vote for Sydney. It's mostly so I don't have to be the person to talk.
You give me a small script, I can do it.
Okay, we will. Sydney,
Okay.
we will. What we're
Okay.
gonna do is, so similar to Youth Arts Awards, we sent Ryan like the list of all of the award winners and the school they came from, et cetera, et cetera. So what we can do is just provide you a list of our grantees in the 4 different grant categories, their award amount, and then a brief blurb about their, the program or project or organization that they represent. Does that sound good?
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay, awesome.
More Sydney.
I know. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing some of these events. We're all sort of out mixing and mingling again, for good or bad. Like, I know there's a lot of anxiety about it, but I am looking forward to these in-person events and programs. So yeah, that's all we've got. Thanks again to Kourtnee for really aggregating all this information and tracking and reminding and organizing us and keeping us on track. And it's a lot. I mean, a grant program is all big. It's a big lift. And I think sometimes behind the scenes, like, we don't really get to see, but it is a lot of work. So I just wanted to give a big high five props to Kourtnee for tackling it. So
Thank you, Kourtnee.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kourtnee.
Thanks, Court.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, y'all. Well, I will see you soon, and take care out there.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Everybody.
Bye.